my Mac OS version. That's what was going on. I had to do a lot of preparation. You've got to they always tell you need to back up all your files. So I went one by one with my files and I dragged them to an external hard drive.
Oh no!
To make sure they're backed up. And but that's not what I want to talk about. I decided that I'm going to start using the desktop widgets, and I've been trialing them out. I want to know, have either of you? Now I know, Matt Ray, you're probably still using that netbook that Xenos gave out.
That thing died long ago.
That was a piece of work. That was good stuff. But have you two explored the permanent desktop widgets? Now, for listeners at home that don't know, it's a little hard to describe, but they're not programs like Windows. They're these little boxes that stick on your screen, and it might tell you the time, the weather. I have it showing me pictures that are, memories from photos, but it's just Broadcom
stock price.
Maybe, and it's just always there, sitting there. Now I have 3 monitors, and so my third monitor, it feels like the place where it's okay to put widgets.
Nothing but desktop widgets. A whole monitor.
I've got maybe, I'm going to say, a third of the screen. It would be a fourth, except the photo memories are hanging over into the third area.
So my widgets only show up when I hit like the clock and the date.
Yeah,
so,
like in the little bar on the right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yours are permanent though?
Yeah, you can. I don't know the terminology for this.
Is this like a?
You can put them on the desktop, basically, in your thing. Yeah. I'll just say, this is almost a reverse. This is almost like a reverse code take kind of thing. It's like I have come up with a rule, distraction free. Like all widgets are just distractions. I no longer try to use them. I was trying to think, and I looked it up while you were talking. It's like I first experimented with Yahoo widgets. Do you remember this? This was back in 2012. That was like. They've probably been around since the dawn of time, but that was the place where it's like, oh, these are great, and everyone can have them. And I was like, I don't know. They either broke, they weren't really that useful, just kind of a distraction.
Did they get sold to somebody or something?
Well, this one looks like they probably were, and then they were eventually turned off. So now it's like every time Apple like reinvents the widget on like every single platform, it's like I don't want any widgets. I just feel like they're distractions. But now, how's it going for you, though? Like, sounds like you're back at it. Are you enjoying the widgets?
That's a great phrase. Are you enjoying the widgets? Well, I'll tell you, the main widgets. Maybe I'll only end up with this, but like I got to be aware of the time zones, especially for this podcast. And so I've got 4 clocks up there on digital because I never learned analog. And it's great. I think that part is good. And then here, one of the benefits of living in Texas is you never have to know what the weather is because it's always fucking hot. Whereas here, every now and then it could be raining, it could be hot, it could be cold, it could be windy, it could be raining. And so like I've got a little weather thing on there, like an old man. And I think maybe that's actually all that I need. I would like to have a camera view of my front door, but I can't figure out how to turn that on because of course we have a Ring, and then which means it's Amazon and Apple pretend like each other don't exist.
Oh, no.
Even though I think both of them might implement the apparently worthless Matter protocol, which promises to like make things work together, and then it doesn't. So
that one completely failed. That was a quick lifetime. I feel like it was sort of gonna fix everything, and then went to immediately not fixing anything. That was I feel like it was about 6 months. Normally it takes several years to run that life cycle.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I guess these boards of people, they get confused about now, what do you want? I don't understand what you expect to happen.
Isn't this where like, you put on your open source tinker hat and get Home Assistant and sort that all out? Come on, Kote.
Yeah. I did plug in, this is for the Home Lab channel. I did plug in my Synology drive.
Yeah, I saw that.
That has some container thing and a node and a Home Lab running on it. And the main thing is I wanted to get tail scale again.
Yeah.
And so I've got that on there. I don't know, and storage, but now it's sitting over there just like clanking away.
Well, why don't you put it somewhere like not next to you? I mean, it's network storage. It doesn't have to be next to you.
Well, that's true. I do need to find a place.
Yeah.
And used to have it in the bedroom, but the reason it was turned off is because it was clanking all the time.
Clanking and bright lights. No, I gotta have a
Yeah, so I
storage
don't know
closet.
where to. I gotta put it I need to put it somewhere near an Ethernet jack. That is somewhere that it will not get kicked or played with by children.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so that leaves out my daughter's room, my other daughter's room, right next to where we eat dinner every night. I don't know if that's going to work.
Your network closet. Yeah, this is why you end up with like, well, you have to build yourself a little network closet.
This is the home lab discussion over again. I mean, I've got
it always comes down to this. It's got to run an Ethernet cable into some weird, like downstairs, like crawl space that no one goes in, and that becomes your little wiring
I think
closet.
we might actually have one space that would do for that.
There you go.
I think I need to represent the EMEA home lab situation where it's like this house was built in 1820 before there were network closets or whatever.
Man, my house is 60 years old, and I built it. I got it wired for a network closet. So
this house is actually built in the 20s, but whatever.
True. The full life cycle though is you got to do all the work, get all the wiring, and then get it all working, and then you figure out it's like I don't really put anything on the Synology, right? That's sort of like that's how it always ends at the end. You're like,
that's true.
Turns out I can just put everything on my my laptop, or just buy, because money solves this. You just buy a giant hard drive, and you're like, actually, this is fine. This works just fine.
Yeah. Money does solve some things. Although, as we were starting to record, we had problems. I bought all this new audio gear. It caused some problems. We'll see if the quality is any good. But another thing that money has solved a problem for is Oracle. Now, everyone's favorite company apparently, because they I forget how much. Some triple digits of billions of dollars they're spending, going to be having. I've gotten it kind of mixed up, but it seems like they're doing great. I think we talked about this recently. They got a bunch of pile of money, and it's just going around and around the big.
But no, I think we should. We talked a little bit about it, but I think now we have a lot more detail. So remember, I think we were sort of like, wow, it's surprising to see Oracle doing so well. And then they came out and actually signed one deal with OpenAI that's worth, I guess, a total of $300 billion over a series of time. And then that, of course, this is always the weird thing. That deal then sends the Oracle stock up by like 30%. So therefore it's like, it's like some kind of multiple. It's like, oh, we got a $300 billion deal, but we added like X billions, almost $1 trillion in market cap. But it does kind of leave us into this weird kind of thing. It's like, we all know OpenAI doesn't actually have the money yet to pay that Oracle. And we also know that Oracle doesn't actually have the capacity to deliver that. So it then opens up the obvious kind of like, well, wait a minute, like, is any of this real? So I don't know, Matt, this feels like a topic built for you. Like, what are your thoughts?
So you're saying that the speculative money of OpenAI is going into the wallet of Oracle to build data centers for a speculative boom that's coming? I don't know. It sounds pretty great.
Well, just to make it a little bit to complete the circle, then, right, is NVIDIA has now agreed to invest in OpenAI, right? So it's like NVIDIA actually has real money. Going to give it to OpenAI, who's going to give it to Oracle, who's going to give it to NVIDIA to buy the chips, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's one of these things. It's like everybody keeps pointing out this circular logic of this. So it's like
circular logic that's like a quarter of the stock market right now.
Right. So it's like everyone is looking at this as like, okay, round tripping. Like all you see over the social media is just that. It's just people pointing that out. So either like we don't get it, right? Because it's so obvious that like there is some value proposition that's going to make all sense, or we've all just become delusional with like stock market craziness that like we're just going to be like, okay, why not? Sure, just go for it, right?
Yeah. Well, most of my money is out of the stock market now. It's into my
Matt Ray's gone cash. Matt Ray.
No,
Diablo?
It's my money pit of a house.
Diablo.
So, Diablo. Wow.
You're investing in your roof.
Yeah, I'm investing in like roofing and solar futures. I gotta tell you, I feel like I got out probably at a sane time.
All right. Well, let me just take. I was trying to come up with like, okay, what is the counter take? Like, okay, everyone's saying it's round trip, and everyone says it's kind of like just made up money. Okay, what's the other perspective? I guess the other perspective could be, NVIDIA is basically saying it's like OpenAI is going to find a way to make money from all of its usage, right?
Trillions.
So if they believe that, right, if NVIDIA believes that, they're like, yes, this company, people don't believe, right? People think it's kind of a shell game. They don't see the value that OpenAI is going to create. We do. If you believe that, and if you were like, hey, it would be a good investment, like, and if you're NVIDIA, you're like, we're worth like, I don't even know what they're worth. We're worth $3 trillion right now. And we believe we're all in on the AI hype cycle, of course, because we're making the chips. Well, and we also believe that OpenAI, we believe OpenAI is going to find the business model that's extremely profitable. And we have the cash and we're aligned with them. So why not? Why shouldn't we put the money into it? And then that way, when OpenAI is $1 trillion company or whatever, they will have made all of that money as well. So, I mean, it seems like a reasonable, like you could make a reasonable case, like a reasonable bet there that like OpenAI, and maybe to summarize this, it's just sort of like they are betting on OpenAI finding a very profitable business model. It's not a crazy bet. I don't know. I see, Matt, you're nodding no. Like, I guess you're not convinced with my
That's
my
not
investment.
nodding. That's shaking. That's
you're shaking your head no. I just like you're not impressed with my investment thesis. I didn't bring the hedge fund gravitas to that pitch.
The hedge is the key word there, right? So like NVIDIA has to have OpenAI succeed. If OpenAI fails spectacularly, it's probably going to take down a lot of other stuff at the same time, and most of that is like powered by NVIDIA. And so I mean this is like when when Sun was booming in the 99s, 2000s, and they're like, you know what? People are going to buy Starfires forever. This internet boom, it's happening. Here we go. And all their customers disappeared. And what happened to Sun? Right? It's not that they had bad tech. It's not, they just didn't have anyone to sell to. So NVIDIA needs someone to sell to. And they need this boom in purchasing to continue. They need people to keep buying their stuff because they think that there is there's a market for this. So as long as all of NVIDIA's customers believe the future is bright, NVIDIA can keep selling to them. And so this is them propping up their customers.
Or you can say it a different way, or them believing, that OpenAI is going to be a very profitable company. Cote, where do you weigh in? Are you a believer in the OpenAI is going to be very profitable, or do you think this is just crazy round tripping going to lead to like a massive stock market bubble?
Well, now since you're the master of the universe here, Brandon, how much do they need to make for this whole spreadsheet to work out?
Well, at some point you have to kind of be able to figure out and say like OpenAI at some point is going to have to look like a Google style company, right? They're going to have to be throwing off cash and, at some point in the future, right? That looks something like that. So several like free cash flow in the order of like $50 billion. And then and you start to add that up and that makes them worth like $1 or $2 trillion or something along those lines.
Do you think if you had the case, we assume, or whichever words you'll like to use, we assume that OpenAI is going to have the Google search business. We'll subtract out YouTube and Google Cloud and Google Apps, and they're at least going to have that business. People are just going to search and use like OpenAI plus other competitors. Well,
I'm going to go slightly different. I'm going to make it even more open-ended. You just need to believe they're going to have a business that looks financially along the lines of Google or Facebook or whatever, right? So essentially just like, and where I'm coming from is sort of like, they're not device-based, at least not yet. I guess you could throw Apple in there, the Johnny Ive thing, which is, I'm kind of putting that on the side. I don't know. Maybe they'd create another device. Maybe it's a consumer electronics along the lines of an iPhone. I guess you can make that case, but I just have that's even harder to conceive, right? Like what would that even be? But if you just say to yourself, like they have hundreds of millions of people using their service today, right? I would argue there are only two ways to do it. They can either charge a subscription, or they can do advertising, or they can do a combination of both. Like, there are different ways to structure that business model, but really, that's all. I mean, I welcome someone to come in and be like, no, there's a third business model. But like, it seems like in the end of the day, those are the only business models that are available. So you're kind of betting that something like that actually comes to fruition. And I think that's the NVIDIA bet. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, so I was just like digging at Google's numbers, 200 billion a year. So,
and that's their profit, cash flow.
Profit. That's okay, profit, right? And right now, OpenAI is hemorrhaging 200 billion a year.
I don't know. It's billion. Let's just say it's billions. I don't know. Once you're beyond losing billions of dollars, who cares?
I think their burn rate is like 100 billion, and they're not making one billion. So like, that's a stretch to say that they're going to get there anytime soon. So but maybe if you're the short-term investor, you're like, hey, I just need this to keep doubling every year and get out, take 50% out every year, and it's free money.
Right.
So
well, another thing I was looking at, and maybe this is another place to get your take, Cote, was something along the lines of like, when you see this, and this is something we've all lived through, it's like some other smart investor kind of pointed this out. Is like, what you need to do is like watch the financing, right? Like normally these things start with like people will just profit them out of their cash flow, right? Like Google, whatever. We make a lot of money, we can just pay for it. Yeah. But then as the expenses become bigger and bigger, they either can't or don't want to pay out of their cash flow, right? So then they start to do some debt financing, right? And then you start to get into like more exotic forms of debt. And then you get into more like private equity. And then you and this is the first thing, is like, this starts to look kind of weird. This idea of like Oracle signing a deal with OpenAI, NVIDIA getting it. So if you think of like, well, this year they need whatever, $100 billion. And in 2 years, they're going to need $200 billion. Like, how exotic does the fundraising start to look? Does it start to look more and more complicated? Because that one may be an indication that like, whoa, things are getting kind of weird now. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Cote?
They're kind of already into like, well, I guess it's been this way for a while, that companies don't go public as much as they seem to have used to. Is that phrased properly? I don't know. It seems like a company like this back in our youth would have IPO'd a long time ago. But maybe then they're moving into, so they're already raising money in a weird way. I mean, I guess back to the, I'm trying to piece together. The assumption would be, okay, so you're going to get as many users as Google has. They're going to be searching stuff instead of using Google. And then also this new way of doing things, just like their little buddy that they're always talking with. And then I guess you would also throw in there's not a lot of programming revenue, but that starts to get you a chunk of like IT revenue. You just kind of throw all of that in, but then that has to work really well.
Yeah, I think the more realistic, thinking that you're going to get this sort of stuff through advertising seems like a stretch. I think what's probably more realistic is thinking about it as employee replacement at 25,000 a head. So instead of paying, $250,000 per employee, you're paying 25,000 per AI employee. That's how you get to like substantial numbers. I mean, I don't know, army of interns or not. I don't think that the quality is there, and I don't think it's going to be there for a while.
Well, how about we come at this from another angle, Brandon? Let's assume, as you're sort of blithely doing, let's assume it actually works, right? And then what are things going to look like apart from the finance sheet? Like, are we going to like wake up in the morning and we're going to talk to an AI thing and it's going to like cook our toast for us? I guess you toast. You don't really cook it. But like, and then we're going to use
it's going to correct our grammar for us. Yes.
Like there's in the same way that people Google stuff all the time, right? Like it's just part of life. You probably metaphorically or literally Google things many times a day, maybe while you're making your toast. And so like, I guess the assumption in the like, whatever you call it, this being a good business case would be, yes, people are going to be OpenAIing like as many times as they're Googling today.
Right. But I like this idea from economists. They talked about like derived demand versus final demand. And like derived demand is just sort of like, hey, like, you need steel. A car maker needs steel because they're gonna make cars, and then the cars need rubber because or to make tires. But eventually, the final demand is like a person buys a car and they're not reselling it or anything, right? They just drive the car till it doesn't work anymore, right? So so every one of these businesses at some point you have to identify the final demand, right? And I think like Netflix is maybe a good example. It's like they do spend all this money and time making movies and all this technology, but at the end of the day, you watch a movie. That's the final demand. You don't do anything else with it. So with OpenAI, and I guess this, like, I think Matt, you kind of said this earlier, and I like it. It's sort of like I don't know, like 30% of the stock market gains or whatever, some extraordinary number, are all riding on this, and we have not figured out what the final demand is, right? Like, and this is where it just comes down to, it's like, and that's why I was kind of saying before, I was like, to me, it's either a subscription, right? Like and I guess it could be, to your point, Matt, like I think I was thinking more along the lines of consumer subscription, but you could say like, okay, yeah, there could be like, if a company can pay $25,000 and replace, like, I'm just picking an arbitrary number, and I can replace $100,000 employee, then they would do that, right? And then there would be like, potentially it would just be another SaaS kind of service, but all of those savings, if you will, to the final demand would just be people delivering their current services to consumers, but it would just be in a cheaper way. But I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time like getting my head around that actually happening. But I mean, okay, we can put it there. That's why I just kind of come back to like, I just kind of know what I've seen before. It's just like, at some point you got to convince people to either like pay the subscription for this, or you need to show them ads in a way that is useful to them, or they accept it and it's really profitable. Like, I just feel like these businesses just kind of like get to the point of like, that's all that's like when you look at Facebook and Google, those super giant companies, even Amazon makes so much money on advertising. I think that's sort of like a hidden secret almost, or an open secret. It's just like, those seem to be how these companies get really, really big. So it is funny that all of us, everybody other than Matt's out of the stock market, everyone else that has a 401k, and like, you're probably,
that's still there. That's still there.
I'm just saying, like, you're probably, most people listening to this, I bet a lot of people are in an index fund. It's just like, we're all riding with this. We're all like, well, I hope they figure out some final demand, because if, to your point, Matt, if a couple of years go by and finally the financing they need is so big that people balk, they're like, no, I can't, we can't come up with 500 billion. And to what you were saying before, Cote, then they'd be like, well, we got to go public. And then they go public and it doesn't, the consumers don't believe, right? Or there isn't like a stock market need for it. Then you're going to be it's going to be a huge deflation in the economy.
Hear me out. The next round of funding they raise, they can use that to pay off all the previous investors.
Right.
And that way everyone's happy. You just keep raising funding to pay off your previous investors.
Right, I mean, but you can be like, I get you on the Ponzi scheme, but I do kind of come back to like, I get you, but I do think it's like, I still think it's not an unreasonable bet if you're NVIDIA to be like, let's throw $100 billion in here and let's believe. I don't say let's believe, because I think Jensen Huang, he's been like selling this for so long. He does believe. He's like, yes, this is the revolutionary technology. People just don't quite understand how the fact that it will happen, that you will see, to what you said, either massive replacement of high-priced workers or consumer demand for this undefined service that we don't know about. And they're just like, I'm in. I was like, I believe.
Of course he believes. I mean, he's seen the results of selling this high very expensive hardware. No, I mean, to him, it's very tangible. I sell this expensive stuff. People pay me large amounts of money. Yeah, he has realized his
right. He has the perfect business. He knows where his demand is.
He's realized his demand. Yeah. His customers' problems will turn into his problems. I mean, it's going to be like when we were at BMC and they made their quarter selling real estate, right?
Yeah.
If your customers disappear, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah. But I think that's the crux of this entire discussion is like, and I do think it just comes down to OpenAI. It's what's that?
it's the final. What was the
final demand, right? It's just like OpenAI. Like you have to believe that OpenAI is on the path of ultimately figuring out the final demand. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, did people believe? I guess it's just like in hindsight, like, did people believe Google was going to figure all this out and become? I guess we weren't doing the podcast then. It'd be interesting to see what we would have said. Like, I don't know. It feels like it was pretty obvious that they would make money off it at some point.
You also have, as an analog, you have not analog, but an additional thing. You have Facebook. Like, who would have predicted that would be such a big deal? I'm at least tech people. Like, but it's huge.
Yeah.
And now you're an expert on this, Matt Ray. How about robots? You think robots are going to get in here and fill up the final countdown for us?
I mean, isn't everybody waiting for the final demand of AI cars, of robotic cars replacing all of us drivers?
Could be, yeah. That would be a good one.
And we are slowly getting there. But have there been any casualties on the way? Have there been any companies that like went under or got sold because they couldn't cut it? We are getting close. I'm not going to say, by 2026, we're all going to be in robotic cars, but it's getting there. What
about this one? Okay. A recent time when we've seen, okay, I was just looking it up here. Uber. First of all, let me put my assumption out there, see if everyone agrees. Like, Uber seems like a company that has made it. Like, they're like a real company. You can look at their revenue. We all know what they do. And they spent an incredible amount of money trying to do this, right? And there was a lot of questions whether or not they could ever do it, but they did. They made it, right? So there was a lot of skepticism around Uber. So I guess you have to take my premise that they've made it. I guess you could argue with that. Like, no, that's still a house of cards. But I think it's pretty well established.
Yeah, I was about to say, did their investors get their money back?
Well, I don't know. I guess the exit. I mean, I'm just looking at it now. I don't know exactly when all the cap table and like all the raisings, but they're worth $200 billion. So I don't know. I guess it depends on what the investors were thinking when they put money in. Were they thinking it was going to be like $1 trillion, or is 200 billion enough? I don't know.
Well, I have no basis to say this, but my own whatever. But it does feel like a company that's going to be around forever. Like, right. It's pretty entrenched. Like, it would be hard to imagine civilization without Uber. Like, I've been to several cities recently that don't have it, and it's terrible. You don't want to be in that time. Like, it's bad. And so from that respect, yeah, they built an institution that it could come and go, but it'll probably last a very, very long time, which is like the dream. Well, I guess the dream of like an early investor is to cash out at the right time and then move on to another one. But so that's a good comparison, Brandon. Is like so you've got your Google, your Uber, and somehow one of these AI companies has to become that thing, just part of civilization, which they all talk like it. The Anthropic person talks about destroying civilization all the time, unfortunately.
True. And to be fair, I guess the reason the AI thing, the reason we're talking about it so much is like, we've just never seen numbers this big, right? Like Uber's $200 billion. We're counting that successful, but that would be a massive failure for OpenAI, right? Like, they're already valued at like 500 billion. So the fact that they just need so much capital and they have to become so valuable is at some point the numbers just get so big that you're just like, I don't know if it can happen. So that would be like, I guess, the real bear case. So I don't know. Well, I guess we should all just take solace in the fact, like, well, everyone's retirement basically rides on this. And, if it doesn't happen, we're all going to be sitting around for like 10 years. Like, kind of like what, 2000 and 2010, where like kind of nothing happened. We all just sort of like looked at the stock market. We're like, man, nothing's happening there. So that would be kind of sad for us.
2010 was pretty good times in comparison. That whole decade was pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The fact is, we're just older now. We're running out of time. Like that was fine when we were younger. It's like, yeah, fine. The lost decade, we have plenty of time. In fact, we don't really have any money in the stock market. We haven't made any money. Now you flip it around and be like, wait a minute. Now I want it to go up. Now I have money in there. So.
Maybe that was just because this is the growth in my life at the time of this, but I feel like Costco really became a thing in the 2010s. Like, it sort of like spread out everywhere. Everyone was doing it. Maybe I probably came to Austin in the late 2000s, I think, but I think that whole 2010 to 2020, there's a lot of Costcoing going on there.
Well, I do think we should get a shout out here to one of the listeners in the chat, and they pointed out, I guess, a third possibility. Which is that Henning kind of says here, it's like OpenAI could be the ultimate meme stock, right? Where it's just like, yeah, people just believe, right? And it's just like, it's kind of like, I mean, at some point you kind of have to embrace the memes. It's like, well, if enough people believe and they just keep buying, it's like at some point it does become self-fulfilling. So that would be, I don't know. It's a very hard thing to predict right there.
Well, I think here at the Software Defined Talk investment whiz news, the final demand analysis, what we should probably be keeping our eyes on, just like ways people are using the AI stuff. Is it going to be used a lot? Are they going to like it? Or maybe even a more lazy test is we could start thinking about how difficult, because of course I don't know about you, Matt, but of course we're going to be like using it because we can't help ourselves. And we should probably be asking ourselves, how much effort do we have to put into this? Like, are we still enjoying ourselves? Because there's going to be a fork in the road for the early adopters where, you'll put a lot of effort into something just because it's fun. But at some point, if you keep having to put effort into it, you're like, there's other ridiculous stuff I want to put effort into. And so we'll have to track. I think that's, it's an interest. There's other technologies like this, but I think you've got a pretty good canary in the coal mine with programmers here to see, like, once the programmers start complaining and start not liking it, then maybe it's time to start worrying a little bit, because they're sort of like maxed out on usage of it. But I think we'll revisit this.
Well, we do have an early data point. I mean, the number that keeps popping up is it seems to make programmers 10% more productive, which is a far cry from replacing someone. So that, I would say, is an early, like, this isn't as disruptive as we may have guessed.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. See if it's above 10%. Well, people have to write in and tell us. Now, speaking of things that are above 10%, this is kind of late breaking news, but it looks like the calamity of various registries and open sourceries has finally hit the Ruby world. And what I'm amazed at is it doesn't involve DHH. He seems to be not involved in this at all, as far as I can tell. And it's just, I haven't actually verified that, but I didn't read anything from him. But it seems like there was some worry about
supply
chain attacks. I don't know anything about the Ruby world, but wherever you download your quality
RubyGems,
your RubyGems from the Ruby, now named Central, but it was named something else previously. And as far as I can tell, it seems like all of a sudden the people who run, is it the Ruby Foundation? I don't know, the Rubies. They decided they needed more control over who could put your RubyGems in there. So they shut down all the access except for one person. And then there was a follow-up where the executive director, did they ever just call like the leaders of foundation CEOs? I think they did that for the Cloud Foundry Foundation once. The executive director said that some people were transitioning or leaving or something. And so that's why there was some weird stuff going on. But it does, I don't know. You usually know much better about what's going on with this stuff, Matt Ray. Like, what's all this hoopla about?
I mean, from the outside, it looks like someone took over RubyGems because somebody paid them. So, one of the maintainers kicked out all the other maintainers, renamed it, and it's now part of this Ruby Central thing. I think that's still like an ongoing story where people are like, wait, what's happening?
It does seem odd.
Yeah, it's super odd, but like nobody really thinks that this is on the up and up, is it?
But have they identified,
except for that one guy?
Have they identified like who they, because I saw that same I guess allegation, or I don't know, speculation that they're being paid, but like no one pointed like who would be paying, like, or is it obvious like who the person is or the company?
Not yet. Like I said, I mean, this feels like an ongoing thing. Like, I haven't been paying that close attention to Ruby lately, but I mean, this week we've had calls for a Rails fork again, and this RubyGems hostility. It's not good. Whatever's happening over there, it's not good. And I love me some Ruby. So,
all right, so I guess the most generous take is it was done for security. They're worried about security.
Sure.
Violence. So it's like you can always say that. So That seemed to be one, I guess the people that did it put that forward. Like, hey, we're worried about supply chain attacks. It's become a huge problem. We've got to secure it. Okay. So you have that as like one explanation. And then on the other extreme, it's like, no, this is a financial ploy made by some unknown entity, and they're taking it over for purely monetary reasons.
It's like the opposite of the original claim. That,
right.
You know,
and then I guess there's something in the middle where it's kind of like something combination of incompetence and just like
oh,
just,
Hanlon's razor strikes again.
yeah, just sort of incompetence and like bad communication, which it was very easy to believe. I mean, that part is like, yeah, you're like, okay, like someone's just like, we should do this. They didn't talk to anyone, and then they started adding and removing people, and people got mad. Like that seems very possible as well.
It's possible, but I mean, kicking people out of the repos is pretty aggressive. I mean, if you're to believe everyone's testimonial, or what everyone's saying here is that we weren't given any heads up. This just happened, and they're digging through it now. Yeah, we'll report back, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess it just invites, as Matt says, it just invites yet another fork of all of this. Another foundation created, another fork, more governance.
RubyGems is like core to Ruby. I mean, it doesn't get more foundational. I mean, this is like if PyPy was taken over. Is PyPy where everything happens in Python?
No, it's good. It's a fair question. I don't know. It'd be funny if it was, maybe we should just blame the WordPress people. Just about the automatic people.
Exactly.
It's like, what? He's doing this too. So I don't know. It's weird because it's faceless. I guess that's the unique twist here. It's like normally there's like clearly a person telling us this is really important, and we don't understand why it had to be this way. Right now, it's just somebody removing access with no explanation at all, which maybe they've learned from the other scandals. They're like, you know what? It doesn't matter what we say. People are going to be mad. So let's just not say anything. Let's just take it over. Maybe that's the ultimate decision.
Now, maybe apart from this, since we're so knowledgeable about the details on it, especially me, like you talk with security people a lot, Matt. Like, how do they think about these registries and things nowadays? Does this come up a lot? Because it seems like over the past 2 years, there's been a lot of like shit happening in this area.
Yeah.
It's not great.
I mean, they're the source of truth. I mean, everything comes from them, which makes them a valuable target if you are, a bad guy or bad country. So, I mean, at least my employer, we have gotten into that market of, trying to secure repositories, scanning the code, figuring out, what's there, trying to help people lock down the repositories. It's a lot. I mean, all of security is a lot.
And is there some avenue you could use this as like a way to pay that one person who works on like the bash or something? The open source problem where there's not enough money funding the people developing it. Like, could you have like registries set up as consortiums that people use, and I don't know, foundational things?
I think Matt froze. I will edit that part out.
He looks happy.
Yes, that's here I'll say. Well, I think, Cote, to your point, like I think the supply chain is always going to be a risky place. So it's not unreasonable to try to secure it, and it's not unreasonable to try to want to raise funds to do that. So the question, I guess, just becomes like, what's the true motivation? And the fact that it wasn't presented that way, I guess, is why everybody is, has so many different questions about it.
Yeah.
So I guess, I guess to the point, time will tell, right? I mean, I'm sure there's more to come on this.
Well, in more positive news, I guess well, I hope so. So Atlassian acquired another company, DX. I think it was always called DX and not Developer Experience or DevX. And it looks like they paid $1 billion for it, which is a nice round number. We were talking about 300s, 500 billions, just one loan. healthy $1 billion. Seems nice. But I've always liked the stuff the company comes out with. I only know a little bit about their product, that essentially they have a way of surveying and compiling developers, and then therefore telling you about metrics about developers and their productivity. I'm sure there's a much more artful way of putting it, but they have a great newsletter and lots of lots of commentary they put out. And it seems nice. It seems like I always thought they were very, I don't know, kind of more an academic version of Tasktop, if you remember them. Now, somewhere there in Austin, in Plan View, as I remember. But it seems nice, and probably an Atlassian could do something with a way of gathering developer metrics to put into their tools and give some to that. But I don't know. What do you think, Brandon?
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I did think there was quite a bit of discussion around this in the Software Defined Talk Slack this week. I've not used it, so I don't really have a point of reference, but a lot of people felt like it was a very questionable evaluation. It was very expensive for what it was. Now, one person actually kind of did chime in. It's like, and say something like, because people were, I think, were saying like, well, a lot of this is just surveys. Like, it's just survey software. Like, why is it so expensive? But someone else kind of said it's like actually getting all of the survey and getting all the information and then getting it into a usable state is actually very valuable. So if you're a large company and you're trying to figure out like, are people actually more productive? Like, it's not just getting the surveys, but it's actually, producing reports to be able to track that. So I think it's an interesting thing. I guess it's much more, I think we talked about Atlassian last week. It makes more sense, right? It's close to like, the home of Jira, right? Like it would make sense that you're measuring productivity much more than like a browser. I think that was the thing they talked right last week. We talked about them buying. So makes sense. It feels like maybe it is a bit expensive, but at the same time, for someone like Atlassian, I could see where it makes it's very simple for me to understand that this will become an upsell thing to their existing customer base. So I think, to your M&A history, Cote, I think this was an easy set of slides to do, right? You're just like, yep, we will go and sell this to all the people that bought Jira. Get it. I totally understand that part.
Lots of synergies. Maybe you could even make I don't know what they call it nowadays, but you could make a LITE version of it. Just
there you go.
Or your SMB, more M than S markets to do things for you. Because I mean, Atlassian covers pretty much all markets, right? So you could be, which is kind of rare for companies, but I guess it makes sense for developer companies that you can sell to all those segments. So do you think does this set like the new, I don't know, what is this, the new low point? Not low point, but like you've at least got to have $1 billion of an acquisition? Like, do you think this is the new minimum bar for acquiring a company?
Let's hope not.
I guess one would want the minimum to be as high as possible.
Yes. I think each company wants to be at least $1 billion, but sometimes you're only $100 million company. I mean, you take what you can get.
Yes. I haven't had a chance to read it. Maybe we'll do this for next time. I feel like this happens every single time. But the new Dora report came out. Now, someone at work asked me if I'd like to write a reaction piece to it. So I downloaded it, and I think it's 94 pages if you subtract out the methodology and the cover page and the acknowledgments. But it looked like it was chock full of stuff, very thorough. So maybe for next week, I can read over it and give some commentary. Have either of you paged through it or scrolled through it?
No, I think that's a good teaser for next week. Tune in next week. Learn about the Dora. Cote's take on the Dora report.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be fine. I did read. I read the platform engineering section briefly. Looks like it's still working. People do okay with platform engineering. It was good stuff. Also, do you think I saw that the creative RSS is getting into the Cloudflare thing? I didn't read it in super detail, but figuring out how they're going to license data stuff. Now, I got very excited because I saw RSS. and I have been. We're about to we're going to interview someone next week on old Software Defined Interviews, and seeing this RSS thing made me remember the era of bloggers. and being a blogger? And you know, maybe in preparation for that interview, I want to ask you two, what do you think a blogger is?
Let's see, just somebody that is usually a one person shop or one person writer that publishes their thoughts or their work on some periodic but like timely basis and in an ongoing way. That's what I think that's what I would say. Is that right? I don't know. What Matt? What's your definition?
I think it's the hardest form of social media.
There you go. I like that.
The hard. Why is that?
Well, I mean, you know, any chuckleheads can get on a podcast and talk, and you know
what?
Yeah, I mean, most of the other ones, I mean, they can be time consuming, but putting words to page, minus the AI angle, takes more time and thought. So doing a newsletter or a blog, unless they're just like quick hits, it feels more involved than some of the other formats, which maybe it's not as time consuming, but I think the signal to noise for the written word seems higher.
I see. So the creation of it is the most difficult for the potential payoff, kind of like newsletter writing, which is pretty much a blog that gets sent to your email.
Absolutely.
We also have RSS feeds, which is nice, but yeah. Okay. All right.
What's your definition, Cote? You're the one that's probably spent the most time doing it.
Cote, you blogger, you?
I think yours is accurate, Brandon. Just it is. I think you started off with the aspect that's interesting is the single person. Like it's hard to imagine a company of bloggers. That seems more just like a newspaper or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but there's also some style of overall junk that you put into it, which I think, like, here's my sandwich, here's this. That it's a weird mixture of like a newspaper and like social media about people's lives, which I don't know. I don't see that so much anymore. Even in the newsletter, people are very focused on one topic, except for a few weird ones. Well, speaking of a few weird ones, do we have any bureaucracy this episode?
Well, a couple things here. I just want to read this. I want to read this comment and then offer up some clarification. So this comes from Mad Viking God, which I love that handle in the Slack. So it says, quote, y'all keep hating on AI and Excel, but I think it's just as great as AI in your IDE. I'm no professional Excel jockey, maybe a few hours a year, but next time I'm going to be using AI to help me get things like data connectors set up, formatting pivot tables, writing the queries, for pulling specific things out of other columns. It's going to be just like AI with Python or JavaScript. Don't trust it to make a good report, but use it for small things. So I think Matt and I were talking about something along these lines as well. I think we were talking about like, don't, if you will, have AI like in your, what was it, Matt? We were saying, so basically don't have AI just kind of arbitrarily in the middle of your control loop, right? Or in your logic. So, but I do agree. This is what I want to say is like, I agree with Mad Viking God. It's like, yes, I think using AI to, if you will, make your scripts better or your PowerPoints better and things like that. I just wouldn't use it to be like, for example, I think there's one call in AI. It's like, go get all the zip codes and you just ask AI to do that. I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, don't just have it arbitrarily do that and populate it all the time. It's like, no, go get the whole list of zip codes and then maybe help AI format those things in there. So I agree with you, Mad Viking God. And I wanted to clarify for everyone. It's like AI is great to help, if you will, make things repeatable. Just don't count on the AI being repeatable. Is that right, Matt? Is that what we were saying?
Yes.
I hope that's what we're saying.
Yes.
At least that's what I think we were
keep
saying.
the randomness out.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe the big shift we need to see for that $1 trillion stuff floating around we were talking about earlier is if you don't have to go and double check and verify what the AI outputs, then it's a big deal. That will definitely be worth it if the zip codes work to pull all of them.
Yeah, that would be an interesting question. And I think maybe that is the way that we're using AI today. I think that's what people want it to be, always deterministic, right? And it's like, but I think almost it's kind of a weird thing. But if it was always deterministic, then it would no longer be kind of what we like. It wouldn't be like if it just always gave back. If you asked the question, it always gave back the same answer, then it would be a lot less interesting, I think, is what people would think.
Then it would be spell check instead of grammar check.
Right. And so that's kind of the weird dilemma, right? Where it's like, and this is kind of where we were coming from, is like, don't, like, if you're in, and that's what seems like strange to me, is like people are like, oh, we need to inject this in, we want this in. It's like, not really. For so many of the things we do, we want them to always be predictable, right? Like I always want to see the same zip codes. I always want to, like, I want it to fill the form out with my name, my address. Like I don't want it to make up things, right? So, but I like the idea of like using AI, and I was doing this the other day just to create scripts and things like that that are then very deterministic. I think fantastic. And I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. You should use that for Excel. In fact, I've gotten to the point I don't really write the Excel formulas anymore. I just ask AI to write them. I put them in there and make sure they're right. And I'm like, away you go. So good. Hopefully, good to see that. And if you want to ask us any questions, you can always send those via email, questions@softwaredefinedtalk.com. Join the Slack, post the questions there. And if you want a sticker, just send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. Happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world.
Well, there's a few conferences coming up. Former sponsor of the show here, Civo Navigate in London, is next week, September 30th. I'll be speaking there. And then there's the Texas Linux Fest in Austin, October 3rd and 4th. Then I'll also be at Cloud Foundry Day, EU in Frankfurt. Sorry for saying German's funny. Anyways, on October 7th, I have a talk there. And also, I'll be doing some dinner and lunch stuff associated with the company I work for. Then there's also going to be AI for the rest of us, October 15th and 16th in London, which I'll be at. And then Whitney from our Software Defined Interviews podcast will be there. Now you should go there. It should be fun. They have a code of conduct that says this is not just for nerds. It's a lot more words than that. But they're reminding you that like there's people who are not nerds there. So you can't just like show them a bunch of like Python. And we've got a registration code. If you use SDT20, you can get 20% off. And then there's the Wisdom Conference in New York City, November 3rd and 5th, and then London 17th and 19th. And then finally, SRE Day Amsterdam on November 7th. And yes, I'll be there, which you were probably wondering. Now, speaking of things that people like to say yes to, what is the recommendation that you're recommending today that you said yes to, Brandon?
My recommendation is this new HBO series called Task, made by the same creators as the people that made the Mayor of, I think, Easttown, which is kind of set in Philadelphia. So different plot line, but kind of a similar, if you will, environment. So it's a dark kind of like thriller, murder mystery kind of thing. So if you're looking for something to watch, I think there are 2 episodes out, maybe 3 episodes out. I think it's a limited series. So check out Task on HBO.
How about yourself, Matt?
My pick is the let me make sure I say it right. The Open Core Legacy Patcher, which is a series of community supported patches to maintain macOS support on older laptops. So they take patches from previous versions of macOS and Frankenstein them into the new versions of macOS, so you can keep using old hardware with new operating systems. So I was able to take my 2015 MacBook Air and give it to my son to keep using when his M1 died. So it seems to work great.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
You think it's going to work on that netbook?
That netbook died years ago.
Whatever happened to netbooks, Matt Ray? Were they just underpowered? Like what was the deal?
Well, I think they're Chromebooks now.
Well, yeah, they're Chromebooks now, but the iPads killed them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were in that tiny window of time. Like phones were kind of useful, but they hadn't achieved everything yet, and tablets didn't really have a space. And so people are like, you need tiny laptops, and people are like, no, we need touchscreen tablets, and that just wiped them out.
I should go look at the analyst forecast predictions for what the notebook market.
I'm gonna guess it's $1 trillion business rivaling Google.
Probably. It's going to have some threats. Well, I have a simple recommendation that I don't do very much, and that is cleaning your desk. I think I let stuff pile up on my desk like I'm those junk people in Labyrinth, and then I finally clean it off, and it's so nice. Like not always. I like to think I would like to be looking for more things in my life that are simple to do, and then they're a huge life improvement. Like, for example, drapes. to keep the sun out. It's brilliant. Like just these little things. And I think cleaning a desk, I don't know if I buy into like the whole, like, you know, I don't know, vibes of what it is, but it is it is nice to have all this space. It feels nice and airy rather than
I think it's all behind you now.
That's true. That's my beloved junk. I often think of getting rid of all that stuff too, and just having nothing back there. But that might be poor too. Well, speaking of things that are a good idea, you've listened to another episode of Software Defined Talk. This is episode 539. So if you want to get the show notes, there's lots of things that happened that we didn't mention, like NVIDIA giving a lot of money to Intel. How much was it? More
$5 billion.
$5 billion.
Yeah, just they're really helping a lot of people out there over at NVIDIA, which is nice. Anyways, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/539 and see that. You can join the Slack channel that we mentioned. And as always, you know, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Somehow we made it. Matt fell off the live stream, moved around, typing. Kote's camera went out I wasn't sure if Kote was lost or if it was just the camera.
Well, Kote's camera would like cut out every 2 or 3 minutes.
I think I figured it out, is that this camera is in video mode.
Oh, so it turns off?
Which makes it overheat. And I need to get it back into picture mode, which will not overheat.
Okay. Weird. All right. Well, this has been, you know, every podcast is an adventure. This has been a tough one, though. This had a lot of IT issues, this one. So we'll have to see. We appreciate Michael, Henning, and Tin Man. I don't is that right? Tin Man?
I think that was spam.
Spam? I don't know.
I don't know.
That seemed like I wasn't sure. There's an Ethernet question. So yeah, that does look like spam. So we don't thank that person then. So so it was good. Well, hey, we'll go out on this on a very quick thing. So my son has been his school, they now are required to use Chromebooks. So he's been using an older Chromebook. And this has led me to believe that, like, at the end of the day, while it's not always financially feasible, I think all the kids really just want MacBooks. Like, no matter, it's just like at the end, it's like, yeah, we probably should find a way just to get the MacBooks. That's my, I don't know. What is your, Matt, you've had several children go through. What is your take?
I mean, my son's high school, they all use Chromebooks. And I understand the Chromebook angle because those things get beat to hell. And you might as well keep them cheap because, they had them for several years. So there wasn't a lot salvageable from that thing when school was done. But like the M1s that I think my kids all got them in 23, 22. They're all 2 of the 3 are still working, and mine still works from 2020. So I don't know. I think if it's hard to say, like with a high school population, some kids will take care of their stuff and some won't. So maybe the Chromebooks are a better financial investment, knowing that they're just going to get trashed. But if you had kids who took care of their stuff, the MacBooks would be a better choice.
Kote, have you are your children living through this decision? Have you, because I've seen them have both now, and it's like, I think the MacBook is probably, yes, it's more expensive, so it's a little bit of like, you got to come up with the money. I get that, but I feel like it probably lets them do a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only advantage, well, there's the cost, but maybe there's an advantage with a Chromebook that you have more control over it, because the Mac OS parental control features are like garbage.
Yeah, they are.
The interface is confusing, and then you figure out the interface and you're like, oh, I get it, and then you try to do it and you're like, I guess I didn't get it. Like, it's just,
yeah. I mean, my daughter's school ran them all through essentially like a VPN that monitored all the app usage. Wiz does that with their work laptops too. So what are you going to do?
Well, I think you can make the case that like high school IT is the hardest job, because you do have a lot of kids trying to do the wrong thing. But
they all knew how to jailbreak them. And like, as soon as one kid figures it out, they all know it. Right.
But then you also simultaneously have, because like they lock them down so much that like the kids cannot like do like legitimate things. Like, for example, they can't, like, it's not easy. They can't maybe like sign up for like a webinar about a college, or like, you know, a program they're trying to interact with. It's like, it's so locked down that they can't actually interact in a way. So I'm always, when I'm watching it from afar, I'm always like, this, it seems like it almost impossible. It seems like maybe one of the worst IT jobs. Because even at Wiz, like at Wiz, everyone's been hired in. It's very clear. Like they tell you what's up, right? Like, you got to do this. We're watching this. You have a job to do. And like, whereas like, I don't know. It's, I don't know. It's weird how you have to somehow, it's weird to have a population of users that like are simultaneously trying to destroy you, right? While you also have to like allow them to do adult things, right, so that they can get educated. And it's just like, it's a weird group. It's like a weird populations of users. So I don't envy the IT staff at high schools, for sure.
I mean, I maybe if we separate the questions, like should is the wrong word. Like, it seems like the kids should have a real laptop, but then maybe when they're at school, you just give them a Chromebook that only works with Google Suite. But then they need to research stuff. Like, it gets a little weird, but it is sort of, I could also see like, oh, you really just need this to type in. You need a typewriter is basically what you have.
Yeah.
But then it's not like there's extensive libraries you can go do research in. Or
well, I think that's right. I think that's kind of what it becomes. I think kids, like, they use the Chromebook at school, and then if they have other options at home, right, then they do that. So it's like, but it's, and of course, like, they all have phones, which is like another vector to the whole thing. It's like, well, you can always just on your cellular network do whatever you want, but then you're simultaneously telling them not to use their phone. So it's like a weird, I mean, it's just a very complicated like world of IT. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we won't solve that problem this week. Maybe we'll solve it next week. Maybe Cote will have a mic with a little bit more gain. Matt will have a better internet connection and another thing. So, you know, we'll endeavor to do better, but I think we made it through, and we appreciate everyone that watched the end of this. So with that, we will talk to you next